That was painful. Good evening. Welcome to my instant reaction to the 49ers' important, significant preseason victory over the Los Angeles Chargers. I'm going to get into my takeaways from this particular game, but this felt like the least significant of the preseason games. Let's look big picture at the whole preseason, and then we'll go from there. The major takeaway from the preseason for me, I'd love to know what it is for you, but for me, this team isn't good. Like, they have good players, but the team, it's like the have and have nots on this team. There is no middle class. And I think we saw that in the preseason. You have 8 players making hella money. 8 players who are multi-millionaires, and a bunch of guys making close to minimum wage. That's the team. And that's not how the Niners were built in the past. In the past, when they were really good, they always had a middle class of players. Dre Greenlaw, Trevarius Ward, Jimmy Ward, anyone named Ward, Samson Ebukam, Azeez Al-Shaair, Tashawn Gibson. These like vets who are good, but not stars. The Niners had a lot of them. Robbie Gould was one of them. Now they don't. Who is that middle class of players on this team? It's the 8 stars, Kittle, Trent, Brock, Ayuk, McCaffrey, Bosa, Lenore, Warner. Those 8 guys. And then after that, who's the middle class? Colton Kivitz, Jake Brendel, Bryce Huff. I mean, they don't have they don't have any. And I think what happened is last year they did have a middle class of players, a lot of vets. Leonard Floyd, Malik Collins, Javon Hargrave, Devondre Campbell, some of them better than others. And I think that's the kind of players that coaches want. That's the kind of players that front office people want. But this year feels like the return of the bean counters, the revenge of the bean counters. We know that the bean counters weren't happy about the Brandon Ayuk extension last year. They were holding their nose. They were adamantly against it, while Kyle Shanahan and John Lynch overruled, or Kyle Shanahan in particular. And I think the days of Kyle Shanahan pushing to sign anyone are over, and you got bean counters making football decisions. And I think what we're seeing is a money ball situation. The bean counter saying, we got these great coaches. What's the problem? Why don't we just bring in a bunch of rookies? They can coach them up. We don't got to spend $8 million on the starter. We can spend $1 million and it'll be just as good. Sure. But I think one of the byproducts of that Moneyball tactic this offseason is these young guys are getting hurt. You didn't want Dre Greenlaw because he's injury prone. So you replace him with a bunch of young guys, Trevarius Ward, Talanoa Hufanga, a bunch of young guys who haven't proven anything. You don't know if they can stay healthy. You don't know what they can do. So Talanoa Hufanga, he's gone because he was a little too expensive. And you replaced him with Jair Brown because he's cheaper. You replaced him with Marquise Siegel, who's made some nice tackles, but he got burned in coverage tonight. Like, we don't know anything about Marquise Siegel. You gave up the core middle class of your team for a bunch of question marks. Brian Robinson Jr. might be good. He's in that middle class. Sky Moore isn't. Robbie Chosen isn't. These are what you call scrubs. The Niners have a bunch of scrubs because the bean counters don't want to spend. My heart goes out to the coaches a little bit. On the other hand, the bean counters opened up the purses big time last year, and it didn't work out. So I don't think Kyle Shanahan and John Lynch are really in a position to complain or say that if they had more of a budget, they would be better, because they've really spent money poorly in the past. But I think that's a major takeaway of this team. It's not just lacking depth. That's not specific enough. It's lacking that middle class and I think Good teams have it. The Niners used to have it. The Denver Broncos have one right now with Greenlaw and Hufanga. And when you pay $53 million a year for a quarterback, when you pay $34 million a year for a defensive end, $29 million a year for an offensive tackle, $30 million a year for a wide receiver, you just probably made the bargain that you're not going to have a middle class anymore. You have the haves and have-nots. 8 rich people surrounded by a bunch of people who don't make that much money. I don't think that's the recipe for a Super Bowl, and I think they know it. Poop Saget says Jimmy Ward, man. I know. I hope that's just not real. I don't even want to talk about it. Killamig says Garendo and Moody proved they're trash tonight. Yeah, can we get one Garendo for each fumble in practice? Nah, man. I'll give you one for that 199 though. Garendo. That might be the last Garendo of all time. I feel bad. The wide receiver room is as depleted as the running back room. Parlaying Scary Terry with Robinson would have been perfect. Do you think the Niners get Brock some real help before the season starts? Well, you said this a minute ago, but my whole take is that they're going Moneyball this year. These are the Moneyball Niners. And to me, it seems like they're essentially tanking, but they don't want people to know because they want people to come to Levi's and spend money. So they spent money on their own players, but they, added on a bunch of scrubs. And some teams have the guts to just gut their team and start over. And for some reason in the Bay Area, teams don't do that. They do the 2 timeline thing. The Giants did it, the Warriors did it, and the Niners are doing it. They want to reload, but they're afraid of having an empty stadium. So come out and see Brock Purdy and Nick Bosa and the gang. The core is still here. The core is still here. It's just that the rest of the team is no good, and they might not win very many games this year. But if you want to see the crew, the gang, you can come check it out. Have a great time. Isn't that kind of what the Giants are? They need to gut it, rebuild, but they won't because they're afraid of Oracle Park being a ghost town for a year or two. The Warriors need to rebuild, but they won't because they're afraid of Chase Arena being empty. So if you guys have if you guys have season tickets, you're in luck. The stars are still here. But you know who really is the middle class on this team? Juwan Jennings. He's that second tier player who's really, really, really good, but not great. And he might not be on the team this year. I mean, Kyle Shanahan said he expects him there week 1, even though he has a calf injury. Kyle Shanahan really talks in circles. Yeah, it's a calf injury, but we think he's going to be back from week 1. But there's no timetable because those calf injuries are tricky. Thing about Juwan, he posted on social media today. He posted on Instagram a little story, quotes from a song by Offset called Move On. I mean, not that subtle. The Niners have been trying to give him some plausible deniability, and he didn't want it. He wanted everyone to know on the morning of the final preseason game that he is most likely holding out because he feels disrespected. And the thing is, Juwan, I get it. I wouldn't necessarily extend you, but that's because they extended Ayuk and Purdy, and those are 2 extensions that I wouldn't have done. But now that they're done, can't extend you. But this is another example of what I'm talking about, losing one of these core middle-class players, alienating him. This is exactly what the Niners did to Charvarius Ward last year. He wanted an extension. He'd been a good soldier. He'd been everything they wanted. And they made it clear, or they didn't make it clear. They just didn't communicate. Hey, I guess I don't mean anything to them. Radio silence. I guess I'm not getting extended. Even though I showed up to freaking training camp. Charvarius Ward, he didn't hold out or anything. So Charvarius Ward, they basically forced him, no trade, no extension, to show up and play out the last year of your contract, buddy. And he did. He did. But you know what? He had the worst season of his career. And he talked about why. He just was not engaged. And you could blame him and say that, that's just unprofessional. It's human. And while that hurt Charvarius Ward, it didn't really, though, because he just got $20 million a year from Indianapolis. I guess they looked past his one down year, which had, reasons for it. So it didn't really hurt Charvarius Ward. It didn't cost him money. It just hurt the Niners. You forced a player to come back. His heart wasn't in it. He didn't play that well. And you suffered as a result. So you could do the same thing with Juwan, force him to come back, tell people his calf is better, trot him out there. His heart won't be in it. He won't be in football shape, even though he's going to want to play well for his own financial benefit. Who knows? No training camp, and he's alienated from the team and the locker room and the coach. Yeah, good luck with that. That's exactly what you need. What they should do with Juwan Jennings, if they're not, because they're clearly not going to trade him. The Moneyball bean counters are not going to pay Juwan Jennings. So trade him. If you care at all about this season, I'm not sure they do. Trading for Brian Robinson was a good start, but if they care at all about this season, you can't have a giant distraction. You learned that last year, right? You either give this dude a raise or you trade him. And the trade has to happen like in the next week. After the game, Kyle Shanahan was asked about Juwan Jennings, and he just said a bunch of nothing. It's a bad look for the organization. All offseason, they were talking about how they didn't have any drama. Doing everything right. Can't criticize us. No drama. Well, the drama is right here. Once again. And you can say it's a calf injury to try to minimize it, but Juwan kind of let the cat out of the bag. So I think he realizes the deadline is coming up and the Niners are content to just let nothing happen, and they expect him to show up. And I think he's trying to tell people like, no, I'm not going to do that. Well, we'll see what happens. But if they were really, really, really serious about winning week 1 at all costs, this would have been taken care of by now. He'd be on another team or he'd be extended in practice. Should we talk about Jake Moody just for a minute? Every week it seems like he's the story. He's really shaky. And then after the game, Kyle Shanahan gives this pep talk about how he's so proud of Jake Moody and how he said last week's performance against the Raiders was one of the best performances he's ever seen by a kicker, ever. It was a preseason game. He missed a kick and almost missed a 26-yarder, and Kyle talked it up as an all-time great performance. Is this what you call denial? Is he gaslighting himself? Obviously, he drafted Jake Moody, and if they give up on Jake Moody, someone, probably Kyle's going to have to take responsibility internally, and maybe he'll have less power over personnel in the future. Good. I just feel like you got to give Moody credit for missing all of these kicks in preseason and in practice. Like, he's giving the 49ers all the information they need. Cut me. I don't want to leave any mysteries, man. I don't want to kick really well in practice and preseason and show up in the regular season and surprise you. That's not fair. Let me just show you who I am. You got to give Moody credit for just being himself. And the Niners are like, no. That's not Jake. That's not Jake, man. Jake is this really talented kicker who actually makes all of his kicks. And even though he's been super shaky since really his last year at Michigan, we know a different Jake. Intrinsically, there is a super Jake, an uber Jake, waiting to blossom out of his cocoon. And Jake's like, no. I'm just Jake Moody, man. This is what I do. It always kills me when Kyle Shanahan says that Jake Moody's super talented. Kyle, you know as much about kickers as I do. When you say talented, you mean he kicks ball far? Jake kick ball far? Yeah, I agree. Does that make him talented, though? You could probably find dudes in the MLS who could kick a football as far as Jake Moody and be just as inaccurate. Can we just remember that Robbie Gould wasn't a quote-unquote super talented kicker? He wasn't really good to make. I mean, you couldn't really count on him to make anything over 45 yards. That was always an adventure. He didn't have a strong leg. He was just, what's the word? Accurate, consistent. This team isn't built to take 59-yard field goals anyway. You have so much money tied up in quarterback and running back and wide receiver. When you kick field goals are generally shorter anyway. So why do you need this inconsistent big leg kicker on your team? It doesn't even fit. After the game, Kyle Shanahan was like, yeah, we'll see how it goes during the season with Jake. I'll tell you how it's going to go with Jake, man. Jake will tell you how it's going to go with Jake. If they were really, really, really serious about not tanking this season, he wouldn't be on the team. I feel like the Niners are doing just enough to keep fans in the stadium. But this is the lump year. Speaking of that, hold on. I was having a conversation with Josh Dubow, the AP, before the game. He asked me a question. What is the best position on the team this year? I don't know. What is the best position on the Niners this year? Safety? No. Special teams? No. Cornerback? No. Linebacker? Maybe. It'd be better if they had Dre Greenlaw. Maybe linebacker is the best position on the team. D-line? D-line might be the worst position on the team. You got Nick Bosa and God knows what else. The second best player on the D-line right now is Bryce Huff, who's had one good year and doesn't start. He's a one-trick pony, and his one trick is getting sacks, and he's only done that one time in his career, one season. After that, a bunch of rookies who, I don't know, Jordan Elliott. Offensive line, I mean, which is worse, O-line, D-line? Tight ends, you have one good one. Wide receivers, everyone's hurt. Running back, everyone's hurt. Is quarterback the best position on the team? Quarterback might be the best position on the team because you got Brock Purdy, who's phenomenal, Mac Jones, who's incredible, and Tanner Mordecai, who's pretty good too. He was good today. It's good to see Tanner Mordecai do some stuff because he's a good athlete and he has a strong arm. He's a good too. I heard he's a scratch golfer. So what is the best position? If you can't name the best position on the team, doesn't that show you that the team is lacking something? They have one good player at every position group and then a bunch of nothing after that, except for Mac Jones. Mac Jones he is stunning and brave. I love Mac Jones. I got a Mac Jones story for you. I'm about to get into story time. This was preseason. I don't want to get too worked up. I want to tell you stories because I'm not going to be telling you as many stories during the season. I'm going to be, holding them accountable. Jesus Valenzuela says, will Brock Purdy carry this team to the postseason? I don't know, man. I'd be a heavy carry. I'd be a schlep. I don't know, man. Maybe. That's a bad answer. JoJo C says, seeing a lot of brazy talk tonight considering we had ourselves a TO touchdown. The catch. That's true. It's pretty brazy. Tom Cruise 49 says, Lance got better. Did you get to say what's up? I did, and I have a story about that. It's pretty good. Wait for it. Killamig 831 says, I would love Waddle on this team or Tyreek Hill. You're rooting for the NFL equivalent of the Sacramento A's right now, okay? It's not going to happen. Josh B 2461 says, if they were serious about him, if they were serious, cut him. Boswell is the single reason the Steelers went to the playoffs last year. Balls can be worn in 24 hours before kick instead of 2 hours. Aubrey putts from 68 while struggles from 26. I had a tough time with that one. Dangerous Dave says, thought we were going to get lemonade, G. I'm going to email you back tomorrow. Yes. I'm in tomorrow. Graham Adair says his playoffs are bust for Kyle this year. 9-8 record equals new regime in 2026. I agree. The players know they can't act this way every year because Lynch will put up with their BS. Pathetic. Oh, it's Lynch's fault. Dangerous Dave says, I know you're busy. Love you, bud. Niners maybe 8-9. Maybe. I just hope Brock doesn't get lack of protection. Me too. Okay. Let's talk about what Kyle Shanahan said to Trey Lance tonight. This was really interesting. After the game, Kyle Shanahan doing his post-game press conference, and remember before the game, a couple of days ago, I asked him, have you watched Trey? Are you pleased with? Are you proud of him? And he said, I really haven't watched Trey yet. I haven't watched any of his tape, but I'm always proud of Trey. I'm always pulling for him. Sure. Always pulling for him. So after the game, someone asked Kyle, did you talk to Trey tonight? No. I asked Kyle. Someone asked him. I asked Kyle, did you talk to Trey tonight? He said, no, I didn't get a chance to. I tried to find him after the game, but I couldn't. He tried to find him after the game, but he just couldn't. So I found him after the game. He was in the Chargers locker room, and we were asking him. I asked him, said, what did John Lynch say to you? Before I noticed, I was sitting in the press box. I noticed John Lynch made a point before the game started to walk over to Trey, the quarterback the Niners buried alive, and say, hey, hi, good to see you. It probably was a little awkward, but he did it because he seems to be somewhat of a stand-up guy. That's what Trey said. He just said hello. He said, it's funny, I even got to talk to Carter Shanahan, who's in like high school. Carter Shanahan went up to Trey. Carter Shanahan had the presence, the maturity, the sensitivity, the generosity to go over to Trey and say, hey, man, I remember you. Good to see you. And it meant something to Trey. But Kyle couldn't. Not that Kyle owed it to him. Kyle wouldn't do that for anyone. Kyle can't. He's incapable. He is incapable. And he said he tried to fight him after the game. Nah, man. You missed it. I think that's one thing that's lacking with Kyle, man. I think he has a good relationship with like 8 players on the team. And I think they like him because he made them very, very wealthy. But the other guys, I meant to say hi. Yeah, man. Cool. And at the same time, I bet Trey Lance really wouldn't have wanted to say hi to him. It would have been so phony and forced anyway. Hi. Yeah, I'm still alive. You buried me, but I got out of the grave, and now I'm here in LA. Good to see you. Thank you for everything. Really, I really appreciate my time with you. It was great. So grateful that I got to know you. And yeah. So I just thought that was telling. Didn't say anything to him. Not surprised. But who did say something to Trey Lance? Yeah, boy. I walked up. Because you know what? Just because you're not on the team anymore doesn't mean I don't care. I care. And I wanted him to know that. So instead of going to the Niners locker room, I went to the Chargers locker room. I might never see Trey Lance again. Unfortunately, other Bay Area writers were there waiting for him. I don't think any Chargers writers came to this game. There may not be any Chargers writers anymore. But there was like 4 or 5 Bay Area writers there. I was like, okay. So we did our little group interview, and he was pretty guarded because, he's on his third team, and it's probably a little embarrassing to talk to us, the people who covered him when, he thought he was going to be a franchise quarterback here. So I let them ask their questions, and then they all walked away because they weren't there to say anything to Trey. They just wanted some content, which is fine. We're journalists. But I was there because I wanted to say something to Trey. This is preseason. And again, I wanted him to know that I wasn't just like using you to go after the Niners. I genuinely cared. So afterward, I'm like, hey, Trey, it's really good to see you. He says, it's good to see you too, man. I said, hey, I'm really happy for you, man. You're in the right place. And he said, thanks, and walked away. And I was like, oh, that was kind of quick. After all I've done for you. So I was just like, all right, that's fine. He didn't have the greatest game. They lost. He's probably had things on his mind. So I'm like, you know what? I'm out. I said hello. I wasn't asking for anything. I didn't need him to give me a hug or anything just because, Brandon Ayuk gave me a hug. Tano Hufanga gave me a hug. But I didn't need a hug from I would have liked one. But I didn't need one from Trey. As I'm walking out of the locker room, I hear Trey say, hey, Grant, stop being so hard on him. I turn back, I'm like, on who? And he said, on all of them. I said, man, I got to do what I got to do. He said, I know. And that was that. I thought I was so nice of him, man. Like, he could have been the kind of guy like, hey, man, dude, can we talk off the record? I am so happy to be on the Chargers, and screw Kyle Shanahan, and Jim Harbaugh believes in me, and Kyle never did. And he could have done, I would have done that. I'm petty. He went out of his way to be like, would you stop being so harsh on the Niners? And you know what? If anyone else asked me to do that, I'd be like, no. But Trey asked me to be nicer. I was like, man, I got to now. So if you see me being nicer to the Niners, it's for Trey, man. I had to do it for Trey. He made a special request. Be nicer. If Trey Lance, the dude who got his ankle broken on the field there, chewed up and spit out by an organization that didn't want him, thinks I'm too hard on this organization, then maybe I'm too hard on the organization. Or maybe I'm just really, really good at my job and Trey doesn't get it yet. I don't know, man. I don't know. Maybe he was, I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I disagree with Trey. What do you guys think? Is Trey right? Should I be nicer? Maybe he might be wrong. Now that I think about it. You guys are stupid as hell. Who's your leading Kyle scapegoat? Dude, they're holding on to Jake Moody to scapegoat him. I just hit my brain now. Why is Jake Moody here? So they can blame him. That's diabolical. Your SP Ed, this team looks stacked with young talent. Oh, okay. Sounds good. So let's keep talking about what people said to me, though. So I talked to Trey Lance, had a great conversation. Mac Jones might have been an even better conversation. So I'm in the press box, and the injured players are in like a suite. And with like about 5 minutes left, they trickle out to get a elevator down to the locker room to leave. But it takes a while for the elevator to show up because there's like 8 different floors and there's people using it. Anyway, so they're waiting. But Mac Jones is locked in. It's freaking Mac Jones, man. Quarterback. Other players, they're like playing grab ass or whatever. Mac Jones comes over to watch the TV. I'm watching the TV because, I'm a pro. I do this for a living. Mac Jones comes over and he's like, all right, let's watch this 4-minute offense. It just made me laugh. It's like, yeah, man. Let's see the Niners ice this victory. He's like, I know, man. That just kills me watching all these fair weather fans leave the game early. He has this deadpan sense of humor that I love because I try to have that. He's just like shaking his head like, it just kills me watching all these fair weather fans. I just laugh like, yeah, man, unlike you're freaking locked in over here. He's like, man, you're telling me, man, I was down on the field in the first half calling out every play. It cracked me up. Then he walked away. And I'm like trying to remember the things he said and comes back like a minute later. It's 4th and 5. And he's like, what happened on 3rd down? I'm like, man, I don't know. I already forgot. And he turned around like, some football analyst you are. So I'm not as good as you, Mac Jones. I'm not as good as Mac. So Mac, we're like best friends now. Just saying. We watched football together. We watched the whole series together. We had conversation. We had banter. He appreciated my perspective. I appreciated his. There's one more story. Christian McCaffrey. Remember, he said he liked my fit last week in Vegas. So now I think we're friends. And I'm on the field, and I see him right over there in the end zone, right here. I'm walking like, and he comes, and before the game, and he looks right by me, and he goes, hey, and I'm so confused. Like, are we friends now? And I'm like, hey, and he runs right past me and says hello to someone behind me. It was so embarrassing. It was like in Swingers when Vince Vaughn thinks that girl's talking to him, but really she's just talking to a baby. It was like that. I thought Christian was happy to see me, but he wasn't. He didn't even recognize me. Maybe because it wasn't wearing the fit that I had maybe if I was wearing the fit, he would have liked it and said, Grant, hi. But he didn't. He said hi to someone else. So it reminded me that I'm not their friend. I'm not their friend. I'm not Christian's friend. I'm not Mac's friend. I'm not even Trey's friend. So you know what? I'm going to be hard on the 49ers because I want friends and they're not my friends. And so I have to be mean because this is what it was like in high school when everyone picked on me. I've never had friends. Why am I such a jerk? Because I have no social skills. One more story. So when I got here, I got in this elevator to go up to the press box, and there's fans in there, a family of fans. And I walk in and they go, oh, man. And they start laughing. I'm like, what did I do? And they're like, oh, it's our favorite beat writer. Like, clearly not their favorite beat writer. I'm like, oh, well, ha, funny. And then like, so it's Anthony, Joe, and Joe. Joe is Joe's dad. Anthony might have been Joe's friend. So Joe, the senior, says, hey, what did he say? He said, He says, I always read you when there's no one else to read. And they went, ha, ha, ha. And then when they got out, Joe the younger said, hey, if Brock Purdy throws a pick tonight, I'll be sure to watch you. So, Joe and Joe, if you're watching, shout out to you guys. I thought that was a very respectful way to tell me to go fuck myself. It was nice. They could have said, we don't like your work, but they said it, we do like your work if there's no one else's work to consume, which is a very nice thing to say and fair. So that's my story. That's all I got. Jacob Robinson can be a Pro Bowler. Jacob Robinson broke his forearm. I'm devastated. Late in the fourth quarter of this preseason game, it was wrapped up. But yeah, youth movement. Your show is what will get me through this season. Thank you. I'm trying the best I can here. Sean Shepard says, hey, G, what happened to Jimmy Ward? Don't dodge. I don't know. I know as much as you do. I want all the facts to come out. Don't dodge. Fuck you. I don't know. I haven't talked to Jimmy Ward in 4 years. Hope he's all right. Hope he's innocent. I like Jimmy Ward. Jacob Robinson, man, killed me. So who you guys want to know who's going to be the next? Who's going to be the scapegoat this year? Jed York. Jed York. Jed and the bean counters, man. Who decided the Niners didn't need to spend on players this year? Was it Kyle? Was it John? No. Jed and the bean counters. I wonder if this is the year when there's real division in the organization. If they're going down, Kyle and John could be like, you wanted this. You said, bring in a bunch of rookies, you said. Coach them up, you said. They're a great value, you said. Yeah, well, they're all hurt. We wanted Terry McLaurin. You said, no, that's not, we don't need him. I'm just saying, the scapegoat could be Jed. Jed's done such a good job of staying out of the way. What has Jed done since Kyle and John have been here? Write checks, say yes. What's he doing this year? Is he more involved this year? If so, is that good? Is this going to be our most injured year? Getting bad. I don't know. Maybe. When in doubt, give Kyle another running back. I thought it was funny that they didn't play Brian Robinson Jr. tonight. Like, we can't get him hurt. So they didn't even announce the trade. Meanwhile, Isaac Guerrero had to play the whole time with a separated shoulder. His arm was like dangling like this, and they're like, let's run him off tackle. That's a bad sign for his future. I don't think he's particularly good. And if you remember, about a month ago, I was doing a show with my dad on the Cohn Zone, and someone wrote in being like, hey, I'm a server at a restaurant down here, and John Lynch came in with his son, and I was eavesdropping, and they were just complaining about Isaac Guerrero. Guerrero. Sorry. So I think that's stock down for Isaac. Jimmy Ward. All right, guys. 10:55. I told you guys my stories. I got to be nicer to the Niners, apparently. That's what Trey said. Trey says I got to be nicer. I'll try. I'll see what I can do. I'm essentially a nice person. This whole thing that I do, it's a persona. It's an act. I don't talk like this. I'm not hypercritical of the people in my life. But it's how I talk about the 49ers. Because it's what they need. Anyway, they're shutting down the lights. I'll be back tomorrow morning with Ryan, and we'll talk in depth about Trey Lance Did you get hit in the dodgeball? F you, Sean. Love you, Sean. MS says, you should have a barbecue at Lombardi's crib. Vlog it. I don't think I'm invited. I don't think I want to go. I've never seen someone so serious with such a lack of sense of humor. But when you're always right 100% of the time, why would you laugh? What's funny? Nothing. All right, guys. Thanks for watching. Real football, 2 weeks.